Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Joe Brady. I live on Maple Avenue in Peekskill, and as you know, I'm a candidate for City Council. I'm hoping to occupy the seat I was honored to have in the late '90s. But as a candidate and a taxpayer, I'm concerned about what I think is the abuse of some public funds by way of use of the government channel, number 78. Recently, there was a ribbon cutting, and I know well, I said, for want of a better word, your candidate had been there, not only cutting the ribbon, but it was making a political statement by being there. And I see this as taxpayers' money funding a political campaign. I'm sorry I even have to bring it up, but I'm thinking that if it's not brought up, the abuse will continue. So thank you very much.
360 Ringgold Street, Peekskill. I just wanted to address specifically two different properties that the city has purchased, and one was the recent property that the previous speaker was speaking about. It was the property on Main Street for $565,000. Question on that, as far as the value, can you guys provide a recent appraisal for this property showing the actual value was in line with what the value should be?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'd like to have that. And also, too, the city is purchasing properties. We have the one on Lower South Street that was purchased, and we also have this property on Main Street that was purchased. Really curious as to why the city is getting involved in procurement of properties, which really causes monies, tax monies that would be collected typically. These properties are now offered the tax rolls, and so less taxes are being brought in on those properties. And meanwhile, the citizens of the city, or the taxpayers of the city, are being taxed for additional taxes like the transfer tax, utility tax, and added taxes, and whatever other taxes that that have been created over the last couple of years. So to specifically address taking those off the tax rolls, looking for how we're going to bring those back and start putting some more taxes into the coffers of the city, as opposed to just taking them out and not having a plan.
Good evening. Tony Washington, 1500 Riverview Avenue, Peekskill. In 2006, Councilman Claxton, then Councilwoman Foster, and Councilman Bennett said that they opposed taking money from the water fund to spend on general operating budget. The following excerpts were taken from an archive of your own website, peekskilldems.com. Quote, in previous budget years, Councilwoman Claxton raised concerns about the city's history of transferring funds out of the designated water fund to the city's general operating fund. Quote, those transfers were used to hide deficits in the general operating budget, said Claxton. Democrats on the council are proposing the city adopt legislation that restricts the ability of staff and council to transfer funds from the water fund to the general operating fund, unquote. But this is exactly what you've done to overpay for the property at 1037 Main Street. Can any of you tell me any recent property in this city that sold for anywhere near $600,000? And this comes after you bonded $6.5 million to overpay for the contaminated Carter property on Lower South Street. Thanks to your mismanagement, next year's deficit-riddled budget will have a line item of $650,000 just to pay for the Carter fiasco. And we still don't know how much it will cost to clean up the pig in the poke you bought when you didn't have to. You're using the taxpayers' money as your own personal piggy bank to speculate in real estate with no plan that anyone knows about for recouping our hard-earned tax dollars. This is wrong. It's bad public policy, and you knew it in 2006. It's fiscally unwise, and you knew that in 2006. It was irresponsible then, and it's irresponsible now, but you did it anyway. It shows you all to be hypocrites, whether you voted in favor of it or failed to speak out against it. You attacked the previous administration for doing the very same thing 4 years ago, and now you've been exposed for doing it yourselves. You are not true to your words. You've shown you lack integrity, and your credibility as a governing body is ruined. You circumvent the law when it suits you, and ignore your own principles when they stand in the way of doing what you want. It's no surprise that two of you want no more to do with this council and are voting with your feet. It also makes me wonder why anyone would choose to follow your sorry example. Peekskill deserves better than this.